Hi, I'm Craig the geologist, and today we are at the Ford Exploration Pits. This is one of my favorite places. Come check it out with me. These pits are a rather unique collecting location. You're not collecting random rocks scattered across the ground. You're not at a beach, and you're not at a mine. You're not at a tailings pile. You are at exploration pits. This is a place that was used for, well, it was used for a few things. It was owned by the Ford Motor Corporation way back at the turn of the 1900s, the 20th century, back when they made wood panel cars. And they logged the wood here to make those wood panel cars. After it had been forested, folks were like, well, there's iron mines in the area, and these are definitely iron-rich rocks. So, hey, can we build an iron mine here that will actually make us money? And so they dug pits, a lot of pits. They blasted pits all over the place out here, testing the iron content of the rocks. In the end, they did not make an iron mine here. However, there are lots of pits blasted out all over the place where you can collect some interesting and often beautiful specimens of hematite, banded iron formation, some of that hematite botryoidal, which is one of the only places that you can collect it. There are places where it likely occurs in the Marquette area, but that you can't collect because it's currently being mined. Oh, well, hello. We do have local wildlife. You can also find manganite, beautiful needle-like crystals of it, and some spectacular quartz. These rocks you see out here had nothing to do with the blasting. These are all glacial erratics. Ford Exploration Pits are a fantastic place to see glacial erratics. The forest is absolutely littered with them. In fact, this little section here, perhaps this is a spot where the glacier paused for a bit. And when the glacier pauses during a retreat, the ice continues to move forward, but it moves forward and melts at a point. And so the rocks are brought forward to one location, and then they are dropped as the ice melts. And this is just a whole, it looks like a stream, frankly, a whole linear feature of these glacial erratics. So cool. Got more erratics there. Got to be careful here though, because here we got a pit. I don't know how clear that is on this video, but they are things that folks can and do fall into. The Ford Exploration Pits were an early favorite of mine back during my Michigan Tech days. I used to love coming out to this location. And then I had a field geology class spend a week out here, and then a field geophysics class spend a week out here. After that, it became one of my most hated locations. But after the emotional scarring of those exhausting classes wore off, this became one of my favorites again because it's so different from everything else. Where are the Ford Exploration Pits located? Well, I'll tell you the general location. And that is just outside Alberta in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, very close to Canyon Falls. I'm not going to give you the exact location though, because I don't want you coming here. And the reason for that is simple. It's not that it's private and that I'm trespassing. It's not. This is public land or logging lease, and you can collect on logging lease land as long as you're not interfering with the logging activity. And it's not because I don't want you to take all my favorite stuff. I'm not guarding a secret location. It's because it's very easy to get lost out here, very easy to fall into a pit you didn't notice and break an ankle. And frankly, I don't want any of you people getting injured, lost, or killed on my account. And so, I'm just not going to tell you where this is exactly. If you do a lot of research online, I'm sure the internet will tell you where this place is. But if you do come out here, please exercise extreme caution and please always bring the appropriate equipment. By the way, it is a hot, humid, mosquito-y day. If you're wondering what this thing about my neck is, it's not for listening to some groovy tunes. It's a fan to keep me cool. And you probably hear a lot of background noise because it's located right next to my microphone. So, I don't have it on while I film. I want y'all to appreciate the sacrifice I'm making for you. It feels so much better when I'm wearing this thing turned on. Over the sound of this fan, I just want to say that's some beautiful quartz right there. But we can find better. It's so hot out here. And I'm leaving this fan off for the videoing. Show a little appreciation, like and subscribe, because, oh God, I'm dying for you people here. Anything worthwhile in there? Nah, I don't think so. One thing that's both good and bad about being out here is it's easy to get a little bit lost. Now, it should be obvious why that's a bad thing, but how is that a good thing? Well, there are probably 100 pits around here, maybe more. No matter how many times you go out here, you never end up visiting the same ones. Because even if you try to go to the same ones, you usually can't find them. Because usually you've gone off at a 1 degree angle from where you went last time, and you're finding a whole other set of pits. Now, if memory serves, I do think the better pits were down this way. I think I've gone a little bit too far north. Oh, and here we go. Now we're starting to see some interesting rocks. There we are. Of the kind I'm interested in finding. Stuff like that, that. Let's get a closer up look. So it's a very dark colored banded iron formation out here. It's a very manganese rich iron, I believe, which would be why you find manganite out here. Banded iron formations tend not to be very red. They tend to be kind of a silvery gray with white bands of quartz in between them. There's a piece of what's largely the opposite. Oh, this is actually quite a bit larger than I thought. Wow, okay, so that was all underground. I was just seeing this end here. Have a look at that nice bacon striping on there, huh? And that's beautiful. Oh, sorry. Had to move the camera to shoo a deer fly off of my nose. I've got my priorities. But yeah, how beautiful is that? I would take it if it were way smaller. Maybe I could cut slices of that or something. It is awfully pretty. All right, let's have a look at some of the other specimens over here. What have we got here? This moss-covered guy. Boy, he's also deep in the earth, so we'll just take a look at him there. Well, these rocks look like they're just laying on the surface. And it turns out that they are actually extremely long rocks that go deep into the soil, and you gotta fight to get them out. Oh, hey, look at this big guy. This guy probably weighs about as much as one of my children, so he's staying out here. He's not coming home with me. Look at the beautiful layering in that guy. So these banded iron formations are very pretty, but I'm usually looking for something a bit more exotic than that, especially since I've been out here so many times. And these rocks are so incredibly heavy. If I'm not finding something new or something better than what I've got already, then not really much point in my taking it home. I gotta say, some of these trees, as they've grown up, have done a fantastic job of bringing the rocks to the surface for us. Which is great, because I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to dig, hammer, and film at the same time. I seem to have a shortage of limbs for a task like that. I'm getting buzzed like crazy here, but yeah, it looks like manganite maybe in there. Maybe some very manganese rich iron. There's a nice banded iron formation there. A little bit of red in that quartz. You'll notice the quartz is a bit purplish out here. Amethyst is quartz with a little bit of the right kind of iron in it. And so it shouldn't be a surprise that you get amethyst associated with iron formations, although we're not talking like beautiful crystalline rock shop amethyst. We're talking just like purplish quartz. Beautiful rocks out here. I'd love to find y'all some manganite or something real exotic. We'll see if we come across any of that today. I also suspect some of this stuff, when polished, looks a bit agate-like. I've seen some stuff from the lawns area that's utterly bizarre. And I am lawns adjacent. So I have collected some stuff with the intention of polishing it at a future date to see what happens. But as of yet, I have not found the time to do that. Well, now I'm just getting too far away from my bag, and I know for a fact I'm not going to be able to come back and find it. And I know that because I have lost bags here and spent 30, 40, 50 minutes looking for it in the past. And I just don't have the energy to do that today. Let's go back and find my bag and carry it with me. I do think I am going to take that first rock that I picked up, though. It was awfully cool looking. If I ever start cutting slabs on rocks, I bet that would be pretty cool. Let's have another look now. Was I overexcited about this? I might have been. She's awfully heavy. I'll leave her here for one of you guys. So I have guided events out here. It's a little bit risky, and I've been advised to stop doing that just because while nobody's been hurt yet, you never know, and it's a liability. But it is awfully amazing to just be out here in the middle of the woods looking for rocks in a place where you can find exotic and super cool rocks. And just out here in nature with the birds and mosquitoes. Lots of mosquitoes. It's nice. I will say, if you haven't been out here before, don't come out here for the solitude. Bring someone with you, because you can get lost out here. But it's just wonderful being out in the woods looking for rocks. Here we go. We're getting into some more interesting stuff over here. This is a stream bed that I recognize over here where we've collected botryoidal material before. Here's some very shiny banded iron here. Very little quartz, a lot of hematite. So, over here, I see some quartz sticking up through the ground there in a few places. Come here. Yeah, I think I recognize this stream bed here. And the rocks along here, if I can get this thing to turn correctly, and the rocks along here can have some pretty interesting stuff in them. those botryoidal pieces. Manganites. Should be seeing a little bit of stuff somewhere along here. Turn. There we are. Anything interesting under the moss here? No, not really. These are all pretty boring looking. That's pretty dull. Very pretty quartz. I always love the colors in these guys. Right here. Anything interesting over here? It's getting a little sparkly over here. Well, here we go. Well, I have got like 14 mosquitoes all in my face here. Holy cow. Okay. All right, come over here. Take a look at that. There we go. I'll get some of the biologics off of there. Take a look at those beautiful needly crystals. I gotta keep moving because the mosquitoes are getting very bold considering the amount of DEET I have on myself. But that's manganite right there. Very cool. Wonder if we can find some better pieces. Don't think I want to stay in this location very long. I am really being swarmed. I don't know. A bit too mossy to see anything. There we go. Some more needly manganite crystals. And the other side. A bit more of that as well. These are not the best manganite crystals you'll find out here, but they're not bad. I'm excited to be able to show them to you, rather than just showing off pieces I've collected in previous years, which I will certainly do. I'll show you some of my best of the best out here. Here's some of the stuff that almost looks kind of agate-like. I'll move a bit from these mosquitoes and swat the one that's actively biting me. All right. Check out that banding. This is not true agate banding, but it's beautiful. have no idea what's growing on this. Whether those are eggs or a fungus of some sort. I'll just leave that like so. Not sure I have it in the original orientation, so good luck to it. I also don't want to smash it into the ground. I was gonna move you, but you are not gonna be easily moved. Now I'm gonna leave you be. Some beautiful little mushrooms here. What have we got here? Those are beautiful manganite crystals. This is a piece I'll take home with me. That's very nice. Look how many there are on that one too. That's crazy. I thought this was the area that had the botryoidal stuff. I'm not finding anything botryoidal, but I'm finding nice manganite crystals. And that's a take-home piece right there. Here's something you find out here sometimes. Focus on it, you'll find druzy quartz layers overlying orangish yellow and black manganite and iron formation. I call these black quartz. Of course, there's no such thing as black quartz, but it looks like it because the druzy clear quartz coating, boy, that's a tongue twister, atop of black material that makes the quartz itself look black. Let's see what else we have over on the spot. A lot of that black quartz material here. See it sparkling in the sun. That's a big piece. I'm not ambitious enough to carry that out in my pack. That's some interesting patterning there. There's more to this place back there. It just keeps going. However, it's 5 o'clock. I'm supposed to be meeting up with people. I don't trust I have a cell phone signal out here, so it's time to call it a day. Let me show you a few of the pieces I found in the past, though, that were absolutely out of this world from these forward exploration pits. Let's have a look at some of the best specimens I found at the forward exploration pits over the last 25 years. Am I that old? All right, let's begin with the only rock I ended up collecting on this trip, and that is the manganite here you see. Now, the forward exploration pits also have pyrolusite, which is a very similar looking mineral. I call everything that looks like this manganite out here. Determining the difference between pyrolusite and manganite requires messing up my samples, and they're just too pretty for me to destroy, because I'd rather have them looking pretty than know exactly which name to call them by. They're close enough. But isn't that beautiful? It's just crack filling, so these minerals don't actually go in at all. They just kind of glom onto this surface here. You see the rest of the rock is a little bit unimpressive. Some yellow limonite staining on there. Actually have quite a bit of decent manganite on the backside here too. Look at the sparkles on this one. Isn't that beautiful? It is covered with tiny quartz crystals. They might be a little bit too big to call druzy quartz. But those are all quartz crystals catching the light there. Isn't that gorgeous? Now notice how some of them are orange, some of them are black. Well, they're all perfectly transparent, but some of them are sitting on top of orange limonite, which makes them look orange. Some of them are sitting on top of black manganese minerals like manganite, making them look black. Let's take a look at the other side here. See a lot of that over here as well. Isn't that beautiful? You can see the banded iron formation here. And the water's been in here, working it, depositing those beautiful quartz minerals. Let's have a look at another example of the quartz. This guy right here. This is a great example of what I call black quartz. Of course, there is no such thing as black quartz. There is smoky quartz, which has kind of a gray smoky color to it, but there's no such thing as black quartz. I call this black quartz because it looks black, but in fact, just like the last sample I showed you, it's perfectly transparent quartz crystals sitting on top of a black substrate, a black mineral underneath, and that makes the quartz look black itself. There's a pocket right there. I don't believe the other side has a whole lot to show. No, not so much. All the good stuff's over on this side here. Some of these have complex pockets of quartz, and we'll see them become increasingly complex as I show these off. Looks like we have some sprays of manganite or pyrolusite here. More random pockets of quartz. Oh yeah, some good manganite in here. Ooh, and look at all that beautiful quartz on the bottom there. That's the side I leave down. Another piece with some complexity to it. And look at the patterning in that. The rocks in this area have been dramatically folded. I do recall that from my field geophysics and field geology classes. Let's have another look at an example of these complex cavities in here. And geode type structures. Enjoy the complexity of this one here. You got the quartz on top of other white quartz. Gives it a very different look from all that black quartz. And you'll notice there are hints of purple in this. This sample, only just some small hints of it. Nothing terribly dramatic. Anything interesting on this side? Oh, we got some little bit of black quartz going on. Let's change things up a little bit. Let's take a look at a nice piece of manganite here. Take a look at these sprays here. They start at a point and they spray out. You can see the unweathered stuff on the freshly broken surface is actually quite shiny. Very metallic. The duller stuff has just been exposed to the elements a little bit more. This is manganese mineralization in here as well. It's kind of beautiful dendritic patterns in there. And then a little pocket of quartz up in there. Now here's another change of pace. This is the botryoidal hematite that we get out there. It's nothing gargantuan. It is very pretty. It's that very bubbly look. Botryoidal comes from the Greek word meaning grape-like. You don't find a lot of it out there, but there are areas where you can find it. Here's another piece from that location. Look at the rainbow appearance on it, that kind of iridescence. I suspect that comes from an early stage of weathering, but I don't actually know this. Very beautiful. Here's the side view of it. You can see it's just a light coating on there. With that, I will show off this piece now. This is a piece of hematite. Lots of hematite in here. You can see there's some botryoidal hematite inside, but it looks a little bit different though, because that botryoidal hematite is actually coated with a fine layer of druzy quartz, giving it a black sparkle inside. Now, people in this area have found stuff that looks an awful lot like agate. And I always wonder if properly polished up, would this stuff qualify as agate in some places? I just don't know. But I'm very curious. So sometimes I pick up pieces with really nice banding like this. And I think to myself, well, I'm gonna cut this up and polish it one day. So far it hasn't happened. But one day when I find the time, it's my motto for the last 25 years, one day when I find the time, I will polish some of these up and have a look at what they look like when they're real clean. Here's my most dramatic piece of botryoidal hematite from this location. Have a look at that. How amazing is that? Absolutely beautiful. And this bottom, where I just place it, on the ground. Look at that druzy quartz covering the black minerals, making it look like black quartz. But again, the real treasure in my mind is the botryoidal hematite all running through there. It's just breathtaking. Here we've got a rock with some interesting hematite columns on here, and a bit of botryoidal hematite, and the black quartz, all in close proximity there. Botryoidal hematite. Let's brighten things up a bit. Here's a very bright piece of quartz. Some interesting red on there. Not sure what's going on with the red. But this is the surface that I show off. Let's contrast that with this deep black one, filled with black quartz. Over here you can see the hematite. It's not looking very botryoidal here, but you can see head on. If I can get the correct part in focus here, that is the hematite. Now you get a sense of the bubbly botryoidal nature it might have had before it got blasted out. That black quartz is hiding in there. That's the real treasure. Mixture of black and white quartz side by side. Again, color is just due to the substrate, the material that the crystals are growing off of. This guy's heavy. This must be a piece with a lot of hematite running through it. And yes, it is. These are veins of hematite running through that. A little bit of black quartz in that pocket. What we have on this, oh yeah, look at all that bubbly botryoidal hematite. And then yeah, you see all that hematite running through there. Let's make our way back to some of the complex quartz. Look at the patterning in that. Isn't that crazy? It looks like an ant's nest running through there. At least what I imagine an ant's nest would look like. And these columns of black quartz here. Not very well defined columns, but you will see some better ones in a moment. Here's another extremely complex one with a lot of quartz in it. As we turn it over here, see all this craziness going on in there. If we're looking for columns, find pieces like this. These are a bit better defined. Columns composed of manganite and hematite and quartz all growing together, kind of intergrown. One of my most beautiful pieces here. I absolutely love this. Hope it shows up well on here. But the columns of quartz. And when you turn it like this, you can see each of these columns has a core of manganite in the center that they're growing on top of. You'll also notice that they're a bit purplish. They were quite a bit more purple when I first found them. Over the years, they've become a bit sun-bleached. I absolutely adore this piece. This piece here has beautiful examples of black quartz and yellow quartz. That would be quartz on top of limonite. Limonite is a iron mineral, and it's different from hematite. I think mostly based on hydration or oxidation state. I'm not sure. This is another big piece with a lot of complexity to it. Look inside of those layers. Absolutely beautiful. Pieces like this are fun to collect just because they have a little bit of everything going on inside them. Pieces of it dropping off as I pick it up. Is a beast. Wasn't sure I would take this out when I found it, but it was just way too beautiful to leave. Would you agree? All that limonite and quartz and beautiful manganite in there. That silvery mineral there. I don't believe there's a whole lot of anything else on it. The rest of the rock is kind of dull and not very interesting. But yeah, when you turn it over like this, boy, is it gorgeous. Well, we're approaching the end here. And now we get to some of the more colorful ones. This guy is mostly black quartz, but with a little bit of orangish and purplish material in there as well. This one you get yellows grading into oranges and blacks and pinks even, as the quartz coats some of the red iron layers. And then there's this piece, which used to be extremely purple and is still fairly purple. I hope it shows up well in this light. It looks as though the purple color is showing up as kind of grayish white here. I may try to adjust the color on this to bring out the purple that I can see, but the camera's just not picking up. Rest of the rock, just banded iron here. But then it's got this pocket of spectacular beauty. Once again, while I'm okay with sharing with you the general area that the forward exploration pits are, that is in the Alberta area of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I don't want to give you the exact location. And if you're going to look into it yourselves, please don't guess at it. It's very easy to get yourself lost or to wander onto land that might not be public. Please only get out there if you've been out there before yourself, or if you have a friend who's going to guide you out there who's been out there themselves. The MinDat database has this location listed under a different name that I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you trying to find it. And it doesn't have it properly located. It'll take you to the wrong spot in the woods. It'll get you close-ish, but you're not going to find this. And when you're wandering around lost in the woods, you're not going to have a good day. So please only go there if you've been there before yourselves, or if you're being guided by a friend who's been there themselves. And I don't know if it's true today, but at least historically, because so many Michigan Tech geology classes have gone to the forward exploration pits, field geology, field geophysics, those are classes that are required for every geologist who graduates from Michigan Tech. So if you want to get out there, become friends with a local geologist. They'll show you, they'll know about the spot. Now let me take you to one last collecting spot here at the forward exploration pits. And unlike all the other pits out in those woods, this spot is predictable. I can find it every time because it's right along a road. And it's not looking for the banded iron formations or the manganite crystals. It's over here by the corner of this road. Behind me here is an enormous glacial erratic about the size of a small house, or a very large monster truck. Let's come over here and find what I believe is the only graphite deposit in the state of Michigan. It's very small. On this dirt road near a corner where there's evidently some other cars parked. Not sure what's going on out there. We're gonna, oh, hey, those are the people I'm supposed to be meeting up with. All right, well, Casey, I'll show you in your pieces here before I go in, but this is what it comes out, how it looks. Not very amazing looking, but it does come off on your fingers and you can write with it. Have you tried writing with it yet?
She's got her sketch pad, look over there.
Oh, okay.
Squiggles.
So in amongst the weeds here, there is a steep bank. And coming out of that bank is some shale that's very carbon rich. And it's got graphite that you can write with.
Yeah, there's a lot right here.
Yeah. There you go. That is, get that to actually focus on it. Yeah, that's it. And take a look at those greasy graphite fingers. Is it okay if I show you greasy graphite fingers on YouTube? Absolutely. All right, yeah. So I call that the finger test. If you're not sure if you got a good piece of graphite and you don't have any drawing paper with you, check it. That's the way you do it. If it comes off all over your fingers and makes an enormous mess, that's a good piece of graphite. And it comes right out of the earth here. And to my knowledge, this is the only place where you can collect graphite in all of Michigan.
What makes the conditions right for graphite?
You know, it is a shale that's just got a lot of carbon in it. And instead of turning to natural gas or into coal, the carbon crystals have been laid down into plates that slide past each other. And that's what makes graphite so great for writing. Is it's a metal, but it's all teeny tiny plates that slide off of each other and then stick to the paper.
There's a lot in there.
Oh yeah. And I've been pulling stuff out of this hillside every once in a while, periodically, for about 25 years. It's only in this hillside though. It's a very random spot.
Wow.
The person next to me is testing theirs with a piece of paper here in their notebook that they do some beautiful sketches in. And look at the quality of the graphite. I mean, that's fantastic. And what a fun activity for anyone, especially kids, to be able to draw with a rock. Here's a clip from a video I produced a few years ago when my son was quite a bit younger. Our youngest Michigan rock hound here. You might have to push hard on it. Oh yeah, there you go. Now you're getting some marks. There you go. What are you drawing with that graphite? Is that a lake? There we go.
There we go. Pretty good.
That's a pretty good drawing with the rock.
Now, that red alcohol looks good.
All right. The slates are the graphite that you find there. It's not pure graphite, it's just a very graphite-rich slate, which I think really is all anyone mines for graphite anyways. Well, thank you for joining me today at the Ford Exploration Pits. One of my favorite places. Although frankly, do I say that too often? I might have a lot of favorite places. Tell you what, maybe if there were no mosquitoes out here, this would be my favorite place. It's pretty amazing. It's a beautiful walk in the woods. As long as you watch your footing, don't fall into a pit or a stream or a random swamp like this one I'm about to have to walk around, then it's an amazing experience out here. Even if you don't bring home very many rocks, although most of the time you will. Thanks for joining me at the Ford Exploration Pits. Good luck out there. Have fun. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.